What about?
I said I'm doing a beef stick fundraiser.
2.0, ordering.
You are?
Yeah, for school.
We're doing one too. We try.
Motion approved, all right, we have motion approved.
Who you doing it
All in
to?
favor?
Are we
going too fast with the written?
No, go
Okay.
ahead.
All right.
So on.
HTK, you guys have something for us?
We do.
All right.
Hi, thanks for having us. I'm Maria with HBK Architects.
Elizabeth.
And we were here in October last year. And then, so this is an update to when we were here last and the things that we've done since then. We've got a lot of information. We're going to go through it fairly quickly because we want to get to questions that you have and really have a discussion about it. Since this has been sent out in advance, maybe you've had a chance to look at some of this. So we're not going to read through everything, so I want to go through each of the things that we've been doing. So I'd like to start with where this all started. If we go back to the town halls that were had in 22 and 23, there were 3 things that were identified as major things that we're focusing and trying to solve. The student learning environments, there's some challenges with that K-8 or with the 4A configuration, and then pre-K feeling separate. You have some defining enrollment, and then how to make the operations more efficient with staffing for resident. So those are kind of the 3 things that we use as our lens on developing different options to be evaluated. This process and where we're at, we're not picking a solution tonight or solving the problem. We're kind of right in that middle of, we've done the research, we figured these things out, we have some options to review. We're gonna have to go back and make some revisions and get some more input before we know which way to move forward, but we're on the right path. The district had the facility assessments done previously, and we were using that as our basis of understanding for needs, kind of the nuts and bolts parts of the building. And then what we have been doing more is focusing on that program piece, on how the spaces are used. So we've went through each of the buildings twice now, met with the DLTs at each of the buildings. We've shared these different scenarios to get their feedback as well on what they thought. This is a common theme that we see in schools is, the buildings were built where you have classroom, gym, standard things, and now we also have art and sped and resource and psych and intervention and all of these other things, and we're trying to fit them into the same footprint of the blue box. And so you have all these additional resources for the children that you're trying that you need to meet their needs, and you're just making it fit. So it takes more square footage to teach the same amount of kids. So even if you have the kind of enrollment, you may not have the space that you need.
So wanted to start with some highlights, some things that we found throughout the buildings that were really positive points before we get into some of the things that, some of the improvements that we made. So just, won't read through all of these, but high level at Scranton, you do have that available classroom space. There is space to grow in that building. And it's good space for district staff because, as we see, it's a good space for the uses that we put in the building. At Overbrook has good classroom sizes. The building, from what we've heard, it's laid out really well, so teachers are able to monitor students the way that the hallways are laid out. At Carbondale, you have several opportunity spaces. The library is underutilized right now, so it could be potentially utilized differently. The band and music program is growing, it's excellent, so much so that they're running out of space, so there's some positives there. At the high school, you do have some of those newer spaces with the gym, the auditorium, and then, again, the library is a space that could be utilized possibly better. Looking at some of the challenges at each building, at Scranton, from the infrastructure side, you have some facade repairs, interior finish repairs. The fire alarm system is one that, as we look at some options for this building, will need to be addressed potentially. And then program-wise, the building's underutilized. You have empty classrooms, and just kind of the sharing between the district staff and the pre-K is kind of a unique setup, not necessarily a challenge, but just something that's unique to this building. You'll see these plans as we go through, really not wanting to walk through them, but this is just a piece that we use to kind of illustrate and keep track of each space within all of the buildings and make sure that, you know, the green is the spaces that are in better condition, yellow are average, and then red would be spaces that are in worse condition. So just ways to track the different spaces in the buildings. At Overbrook, again, there's some exterior facade repairs, there are some asbestos concerns, some water and moisture infiltration in some of the exterior walls. And you'll see, some electrical panels and fire alarm system, those have been completed. So we're going through these lists, and some of these things are already being addressed by the district. So wanted to note that. Program-wise, your staff workspaces and offices are small compared to other spaces that we see. The art classroom is in a locker room in the gym. It's really just not an ideal space for that classroom. Again, looking at the plan for that building. At Carbondale, there's some site pavement upgrades that need to happen. You are already replacing windows, 13 windows have already been replaced, so that's an ongoing process. The elevator is old and does need to be looked at and potentially replaced. There's some HVAC concerns, some electrical items as well. With the program, the building is kind of laid out a little bit differently. There's 2 levels in one spot, 2 levels in another, and so it just creates some circulation concerns and some safety concerns. Your band and music space is, like I mentioned, it's too small for the programs that are fitting in there. Looking at that plan of that building.
Can you back, sorry, to the program on one more for me? Okay. I was looking at the bullets there. Thank you.
And if you have any questions, please.
Any questions are out or wait till afterwards?
So that was the Carbondale one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it said that there was, the last bullet point on the program slide said that there was
Limited.
surrounding property limits building expansion?
Attached to the building, so there's lots of property for the building as a whole, but in some directions,
Kind of
because of the road.
in a corner of the site.
Where the gym and the.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually the banner, yeah.
At the high school, there's some structural settlement issues near the main office that were brought up as a concern as we were walking through the building. Some exterior windows, just updating those, kind of the exterior facade. Some HVAC concerns, and some exhaust concerns between classrooms. There's some issues with science labs, for example, when they're doing experiments, some of those fumes and smells permeating throughout the building, so addressing that. Program-wise, I'm sure you all are aware of the unique classroom shape in some of the parts of the building, so it's not necessarily the best shape for a classroom, so addressing that is on the list.
Triangle.
Yes, triangles,
Triangle.
yes. They are very interesting classrooms. Something that was not initially brought up and it wasn't really on our list, but as we talked to staff, really kind of rose to the top was that lack of CTE space. Right now, the wood shop is in the basement and they do really cool stuff in there, but it's limited by the fact that it's in the basement and they don't have adequate ventilation, their dust collection system is not adequate, and they just don't have any room to grow. So that was something that, as we kind of went through all of these options and scenarios we'll go through later, was became kind of a high point of emphasis for high school.
So this look is meant to try to find more of the challenges. So it seems like a daunting list, but overall, this is pretty consistent with what we see in other districts that we're working with. It's just that lens that we're bringing to finding the opportunities. One that is a little more unique is your transportation system that you have, and how they're trying to track that between each of the buildings is something that is less commonly seen. Each classroom has a different way of trying to understand who goes on which transfer bus, or if they're car rider, or what that was, clearly something that has an opportunity for clarity for the student's learning environment, and understanding, you know, how a student moves from their house to get to their school building, they have multiple transitions and the time that that takes, and can eat into their overall school day. So I think that that's something to consider in reviewing the options. So the scenarios that we're looking at, again, we're tying it back to those initial items of improving the students' learning environments by looking at the different configurations. There's a lot of transitions for them right now. Understanding the declining enrollments, and then looking for something more operationally efficient. However you evaluate or you place priority within these different questions, you get a different answer on which scenario is the best. It's going to, you know, and different people will rank that differently. So if you're trying to solve, you know, the 5-year plan, what do we need for the next 5 years? What do we need for the next 20 years? The scenarios may become, one may make more sense in that lens than in a different lens. So trying to pick one or know which one is the best one, you have to work through a different evaluation criteria to understand what is it that you're trying to solve. And in the end, it's building a plan that the majority of your community will support. Because if you don't have a plan for a farm that is successful and moves forward, then you don't have something to build on. And so that's, I think, where the give and take has to happen to find the right plan that's right for your district as a whole. When we take and look at these scenarios, there's capital improvements, those things of HVAC, code items, asbestos, that sort of thing, that we'll need to do in each of the buildings if we're gonna stay using that building. So that's what this chart is meant to say in these different scenarios. If we're using Overbrook to address the priority items, we've started with a 1.1 to $1.75 million of just capital improvements, regardless of what grade level is being used in that building. It's just that those maintenance and capital improvements to each of those buildings. So this is something we can get into more detail once we're refining what the plan is, but in terms of overall cost and understanding the scenarios, wanted to bring this in to the conversation. The other thing, when looking at the different scenarios, I think it's helpful to understand that each of the buildings have already gone through a different life of age and grade configurations. At one time, they were each K-8 buildings. And so having them transition back to a different grade level, the building as itself, you know, we may need to do things to switch them out, but it's something that has happened before at that building. I think that that's helpful to understand.
So, taking all that information, we kind of broke this into 3 scenarios. It's really 4 scenarios. We kind of grouped those by the number of campuses that those represent. So the scenario 1 would be a 1-campus model where you move everyone to the high school site. This works to get everyone in one place. I think obviously transportation-wise, that's really advantageous. You're bringing everybody to one spot. Parents and students, when they're picking up and dropping off, it's all very centralized. In this option, we would have a separate pre-K through 6 building that would sit generally where that KNX building is right now, north of the high school. It would put a 7-8 edition on the high school, and like I said, one consideration with that would be where does the district office go? If we vacate Scranton, that would be something that we'd have to work through in this option. And this, given the cost range, would be between $44 and $53 million.
You know, whether 6th grade is in the yellow box or it's in the blue box, that's something that we talked about when we were going to the different buildings, and that can be a change. This is kind of just that starting point of what that scenario could look like and how it could fit on the site.
So Just had a quick
Yeah.
question on that one back there. I mean, really anywhere, like a playground for the pre-K through 6. Where would that, like out by the future softball
Yeah.
field or in that little, by the boat? No, not by the bus loop, I guess.
Mhm. And that's what, laying it out, like if we combine the bus loops, if that's a timing thing, and we've got a bus loop on one side of the yellow and then another one on the other side, like if that could be combined into one, so, that's a good point that we can update on how that could look, but I think there's some opportunity. There's some
Opportunity
areas
to
that
do a
are-
couple places
Right.
that I
And
think.
you might have a separate pre-K playground that's smaller, that could be in that smaller courtyard space, and then a larger one for those students.
And I wonder too, like parking, I mean, I know our enrollment's kind of declining, but our parking is horrible as it is, like on game nights.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already overflowing. I mean, and sometimes we have junior high and high school games on the same night, like, is there anywhere to add any
Yeah,
parking in there? I know that's always been an issue.
yeah, I think this south lot's getting paved already, or is planned to be paved soon, which hopefully will help some, and then.
Oh, it won't. I mean, paved or not, it's still not enough parking. I mean, people park all along
How's that
the
gonna
road
work?
there.
We have 300 students
Yeah,
out
both
there now,
sides.
and our tutor lagoons barely keep up. How's one additional lagoon gonna take on 600 more students and staff?
And that's something we would have to evaluate what that size and capacity is. I also don't know, I mean, there's a lot of questions for each of these scenarios that we don't have all the answers to. Once we have more of a direction of like, this one might be one we're considering, we'll dive deeper into it. Cause I also like water capacity of the water district, if they're gonna even allow something like this, I don't know that yet, so.
As we get further into it, like Mary said, once we kind of have a direction, we'll involve some engineers and that kind of thing too. Right now, just to keep costs at a minimum, it's more of that high level, and then we'll dig in and see what's feasible and see where we may have to make adjustments. Because any of these plans that are, if we move in one of these directions, it's still gonna change some. We're still gonna evolve and bring in more detail. So that's a good question.
We use it as a practice field regularly, like do we practice in the practice field?
So looking at scenario 2, this would be a 2-campus model. Carbondale would be a pre-K through 5. And again, these grade levels could change depending on what your thoughts are, and just kind of, that's where this scenario landed at this point in time. But Carbondale would be pre-K through 5, and then a little bit bigger of an addition at the high school for 6 through 8. And that would be a range from about $24 to $30 million.
And this is another one that we continue to look at, if there's any way to do an addition somewhere else, does it include part of a renovation on the high school, and so it's less of new construction. Those are things within each of these concepts, could be further developed as additional options. It's just starting to, what it could look like.
Like with that parking question, that building is right where a parking lot would be pretty perfect. So if there's a better place for an addition, I think that would be definitely a consideration.
Is there a new, band room on the 6 through 8 edition?
Yes,
Okay.
yep, they would have separate.
It's been a minute since I've
Separate.
read it. Okay.
Scenario 3 would be a 3-campus model. You would have an addition at Overbrook, and you would move pre-K through 5 there. So you'd have about 10 classrooms on that building. You maintain Carbondale, you reduce the number of students there to be just 6 through 8, so you do get those younger students out of that building. That was a big concern when we were visiting with those folks. And then the high school would remain 9 through 12.
So this, on the cost, it's showing those upgrades for each of those buildings. on that previous slide, and then the cost on this one is 13 to 18 million.
Where would the district office be? Just, it would still be here? Or out in like the
Is it the
annex?
annex?
Yeah, it was the annex.
Well, I thought we were thinking about putting ag out there, are we not?
Right. Yeah.
Thinking about putting
There would
ag
be-
in that building?
Yeah.
There'd be open space. Remove
Oh.
that many classrooms.
Oh, yeah, Carbondale, yeah, they have-
We could figure out
Yeah.
administrative offices pretty easily.
Right, oh,
That
okay.
much space at
That Carbondale.
Cardinal. Or you could add it here, I mean, wherever you have to consider the district office. I don't see the district office in most of these scenarios,
Yes,
which
that's,
is at least my concern.
Yeah, no, I was just,
I think that was, when we started this, the ag going into the annex wasn't a for sure thing yet.
yeah, cause we hadn't
And so,
voted on it
like,
yet.
timing wise, I think that's something that would be a next layer that we would incorporate into.
Sure.
And then scenario 4, really looking at just reorganizing your existing space. And I think what this gives you, and Maria mentioned, is those capital improvement projects, but really the ability to focus more on your existing facilities and maybe look at some of those improvements that would have gotten cut out of a larger option. You could fit those in this if you're not spending money on additions. So this would kind of provide those upgrades at each building and then potentially some additional things. And you'd also move some students around, so you have 5 through 8 at Overbrook, pre-K through 4 at Carbondale, and then high school we say is a 9 through 12. So it does address that issue with the younger students mixing with the older schools.
So,
And I talked with them about 5th grade being
That's
this
my question.
grade level that, and we kind of got feedback from Carbondale as well as Overbrook about the 5th grade concept, and is that something you want to develop into a middle school, is that something, and we had mixed, we had
I
different
was kind of
opinions.
surprised.
I was too, we had a few more 5th grade teachers that actually like how they use content area teaching and switch to prepare them for middle school. And then there were a lot of others that felt 5th grade still needs to be the upper elementary grade. So I told them to consider, can we fit PK through 5 at Carbondale and 6, 8 at Overbrook? And with declining enrollment, if it wants to go down to fewer sections per grade level, then how does that change in our set at Carbondale? So I told them that 5th grade was that very flexible piece, but overall, my recommendation would be to keep 5th with PK through 5. That would have it.
So we also had some discussion about how Scranton could be repurposed. I think there's opportunity for the building as a whole, but it could be something that needs to be considered in the plan if you're moving out of a building, what happens with it. And some of the other things we've seen other districts do is turn those buildings into community centers or housing or childcare co-ops. That's something we have seen before, work share space that becomes a special education co-op. I think there's some opportunities there. We don't like to bring an option without a building without considering that. And this is when we talk with the teachers and the BLTs at each of the buildings, some of the things that we heard when we were at Overbrook and looking at the different scenarios, it was really helpful to see it through their lens and their eyes and talking through the different scenarios. It was clear that teachers are so great at working in the spaces that they're given and what they have and adapting to that. But with it, Carbondale currently being used for the 4-8, it was hard for them to see themselves on how that could work for the younger grade levels. If they really liked the building that they're in, they liked the circulation of it having the whole circle to walk all the way around. But Carbondale not having that just made it feel more disjointed to them, for a younger grade level. At Carbondale, they talked about they would need to expand opportunities for the junior high students. And was concerned, if the older kids went to Overbrook in that scenario, of just reconfiguring everyone, that the classrooms were smaller and not the right size for them. We talked a lot about that 5th grade level, if it's with the pre-K through 4, or if it's with the 6th through 8. And also talked about how Carbondale, if it was stayed as a middle school use, it has the practice field and it's closer to Topeka for parents that are commuting and trying to get to meetings. The high school, that we talked a lot more about that CTE and that moving over to the annex, and what that would look like. We talked a lot about the number of gyms, how many gyms are needed, and how to phase into potentially the different scenarios. If it's not doing it all at one time, how do we take out the first step of that's the overall vision of the plans, but then do it in phases. We also wanted to bring some context of the surrounding areas in your league, what they have in terms of number of towns, number of campuses. We started looking at numbers of gyms and just all of the parts and pieces that go into it whenever you are split between multiple buildings and what that looks like. So it's something we have included in here. So I think for next steps, we want to refine some of these, get some more feedback on which scenarios make sense. I think Clayton is coming next month to talk about the finance piece of it more. But I think each of these scenarios, we can dive more into that and understand the details of that and how, with the annex being used for ag, what that looks like and what opportunities or how to use that high school space in a different way. And then trying to understand the timeline as a whole, what we're moving towards. One scenario is like the soonest you could probably move forward for doing a bond to do would be late August or early September bond election. That would be the next opportunity that you guys would have. That would mean you'd have a plan of what the dollar amount is and grade configuration at the buildings, and have that by the June board meeting.
And that would be a special election outside of the general, of course.
The other scenario would be if you had the bond election in November, and you would have to have that configuration by August.
And there's a lot of strategy, or at least some strategy that goes into that, into when you run your bonds, and what else might be on the ballot, making sure you've got good voter participation, that kind of thing. And we've done it every single way, so we can help talk through that and talk about some of that strategy and make that plan.
The other thing I think just to realize is big picture wise, if you did that election, there's still so much design time that goes into figuring out and answering and engineering every question. Then there's bidding and then construction. That any of these things or scenarios wouldn't be in place until probably January or the fall of 27. So
there's times when, you know, the bond passes and everybody says, okay, we start construction tomorrow. And it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. It doesn't make sense for you guys to pay us to do full documents and then wait and see if the bond passes. So that's just an expectation that we make sure we set with the community. So they understand that. So I think we're moving on to questions, all right? So, any questions you have about any of this, any of the schedulings? You know, one thing that we talked about was starting to get a little bit of a facilities group together possibly. And that would involve some of you guys, of course, to get input and understand. You have the challenge of several different communities, and we see that in a lot of districts. But making sure everybody is heard and has the ability to give their input. They're going to be more favorable if they have some input, some buy-in, some ownership in what that plan ultimately looks like. So we can talk through that with you guys too. That kind of helps to narrow down these scenarios. And these scenarios can absolutely change. We're not going to be saying, pick one of these. There's lots of wiggle room in there. It's just from all of our walkthroughs, all of our conversations, all of our research. This is what we felt like these were, you know, some of the best scenarios, but again, they can change. Thoughts, questions, agreements, disagreements?
Bing, do you know the amount of our last bond?
Yeah, it was up there, 4.6.
4.6. That was just for the domes, is that right?
And they did that walkway piece where the commons is, and the stage was, they redid all that area there. So you got the domes and that connecting piece from the lunchroom area.
And that's the only bond we're currently still paying on, right?
Yeah.
That's in 2014.
And it's done 28. And we obviously have lots of steps to still take, depending on what you guys want to do. You know, we may need another special meeting to discuss more. If you guys want to put together a steering committee, I can do that next. But there's a lot of things to consider here. There's a lot of unknowns still. I've got Robbie working on all sorts of scenarios for all of these things with transportation. So he and I are gonna sit down and talk about how much efficiency we would have there. Kaylee and I are talking about personnel in all these scenarios and what we would save there to become efficient. So I think what we need to consider a lot about is, you know, I'm making recommendations to you based off of a lot of feedback that I got in town hall meetings, the considerations with student learning. I then came into the knowledge in the superintendent role of our declining enrollment, which then affects our funding and that revenue. And then our operations maintaining and still are exactly what they were 30 years ago when we had almost 300 more students. So there's a lot of things that I'm bringing to you as recommendations based on the budget we run and being efficient and planning for the future. And I know that we've reconfigured many times. And if we're going to do this again, I think we need to do it with more forethought than 5 years, 10 years. Student learning is always at the forefront of my mind with all of this. I know that money is probably in everybody else's mind right now because you see these dollar signs and those are big numbers. And I understand all that, and it's gonna be hard to also say we wanna save money, but we're gonna have to spend money to then save money long-term, and that is a reality. It will be, you run a bond to levy more money so you can be more efficient down the road and in the future, hoping to not have to reconfigure maybe ever again, or maybe there's a phase into that. So there's a lot of ways we can look at all of this, depending on how you wanna put together kind of that planning in your head on where you wanna be and how far ahead are we looking. And I will make every recommendation I can, but at the end of the day, you know, this is a community effort, this is a board effort, this is what you guys think is best for kids and what you want the future of your district to look like, and that's my job to then go out and make that happen for you in whatever way we can. We then facilitate experts to come in and give us guidance and expertise on what they know, and they work with a lot of districts, so I can get you any additional information you want, any more research that you want me to look into. We can put a steering committee together just to kind of get feedback on the community. It'd be nice to get a good litmus test on what our community is feeling about. I know the town halls provided a lot. I heard transitions over and over and over and over. I heard Carbondale over and over and over and over, and I heard operations over and over and over. The enrollment piece, that came from me and just my knowledge, and that declining piece and what that does for our revenue, and then what I know about our operations that exist and the money that we spend every year on that. Are we sustaining? We are. We are sustaining right now. Our budget's good. I've told you that the last couple of board meetings. I'm not nervous about that right now, but I've also given you some information on, a great savings is on staffing, and as we have fewer and fewer kids, I don't know how long we can continue to also sustain the same amount of personnel, in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, what that will look like. Now, if something miraculous happens and our enrollment goes up, then, that's a different look as well. But I know the trend is downward nationwide, statewide. People are having fewer kids. There's private schools that compete with public schools. There's just, it's just what it is, so that's just part of it. It's kind of out of our control.
I have a
What's
question.
everybody thinking?
I have a question, and I probably won't know this. Rhonda might know. I know the ultimate goal, like a lot of people had talked about at the town meetings, were one campus. I know that's something that they kind of talked about. Have we ever looked at trying to buy surrounding land around the high school?
I don't know.
Would you know?
I don't know if we've ever attempted to do that. I know who owns the land around and who we could talk to. I've had a few people tell me there would be a few of those landowners possibly willing to sell us 10 acres of it or something like that. But I
Right.
have not ever looked into that. So,
I just always wonder, just especially with the parking.
Parking,
like,
sure.
You can just buy that land.
And those
You know
are
what
the-
I mean? But
And
I
those
know
are
as
the
far
things
as
we have to consider if you guys want more parking to do something like that, if these are the, if we go into these different scenarios and we're like, we've got to have more parking, or our playground space is not good, or if we have to acquire more land, that's something that would have to be part of this planning, absolutely.
I mean, I am curious if any
Yeah.
of them, if it's a hard no, or if any of them like
Yep.
would be willing
Yep.
to.
I feel like we've got to get input from the community because, and what they're thinking, I mean, because otherwise they're gonna be just voting.
100%.
They're gonna be.
And we can talk to you more about steering committees. In our view, it's valuable. That committee, again, made up, you have representatives from every town, from every school, you have grandparents, you have people without kids, you have economic, geographics, you have all of that, and it's important to grab a little bit of all of that. So you have a diverse group. One thing we say, if I grab everybody who thinks like me, that's not gonna be helpful. It needs to be everyone that can talk to their peers and say, this is why I've decided this is a good idea. And many times that steering committee will then turn into kind of the vote yes bond campaign committee, because they've bought into it, they've got some skin in the game, and that's important too. You want those people, once that bond campaign starts, the district can do, we talked a little bit about this in the interview, but the district can say, we want you to vote, we're gonna educate you on what's going on here. But what the yes committee can do is, we need you to vote yes and this is why. And physically push that yes vote. Because a lot of it is, kind of that voter apathy is, many times why they vote yes. And so if you've got that committee who has buy-in and then turns around, and they almost get competitive about it, like I've spent 3 of my evenings doing, at these steering committees, we're gonna pass this thing. Right. And so that's important too.
So I do know, like, obviously, one of the biggest things is gonna be the money.
Yes.
So I guess we won't really know until we decide what we're gonna do and how much money we'll need, but I mean, any kind of idea on
Well, I mean,
taxes and all the,
so,
because I know we're already paying on one
So I
bond,
would-
and I don't know if people know that. I don't know if people realize we're still paying on bond.
Well,
Yes.
that bond is smaller than, it's not even half the amount that these are, yeah.
It's pretty
That's why-
small. When you
And
said
it
that
was
number,
years
I was
ago,
like,
and it was a long time ago too, so, I mean,
well, that's true.
the valuation of our district is also much higher than it was then too, so what the worth is then is now comparably, we have to look up, but yes, these are larger, projects for sure than the domes were. So, I was trying to baby step this, I didn't wanna, throw everything at you at once, I thought it was important for us to just get kind of some scenarios and look at things and see what you think about just the options they brought to you. There's also other options that are not even up here, that we can consider. If those are things you want us to dive deeper into, we can do that. I know you guys had a couple of other 5, 6, 7, 8,
Yeah.
9, 10, 11, 12
Yeah.
different things. And then the taxing implications. So if this costs $40 million, what does that mean to a $250,000 homeowner? What does that mean to a landowner per acre? What does that mean to all of that stuff? I can bring all those financials to you as soon as you want. I just didn't want to throw all that out tonight and take away from the ideas and the learning of the ideas and the questions we have about the ideas first. Sometimes doing that will kill an idea real quick, and I didn't want to do that yet. I wanted to make sure you guys had time to process all these thoughts, consider other things, give them feedback. That's what they want tonight, is feedback from us on, hey, we don't like any of these. None of these are doable. Here's how much money I think we can afford, or those numbers are scary to me, or, school closures, that's a big one. I know you guys are all thinking about that. That's a very hard thing, no matter if you are in Kansas City or if you are in Norton, Kansas. Those are things I'm sure all of you guys have in your head. When you close a building, what do we do with that building? Repurposing, do we lease it, do we sell it? What does the community then do with it? The attachment, each town, we have 3 towns, their attachment to their schools. Those are all huge considerations, and I don't want to jump into these things if we're not ready. I do know that as your superintendent, it is my job, though, to be the steward of your money and our facilities, and to make sure that you guys are preparing and we're thinking about the future all the time. And so, we can do lots of things, we can do no things, we can do a few things, we can process and kind of stair step into some of these things, but that will take, if we have an ultimate goal we want to get to, we do reconfigure a couple times versus one time and we're done. So, I know we've talked a little bit about the one campus thing, but that dollar sign is big. There's districts that have done it, but it takes a lot to do it.
and maybe
So-
that's a phased approach, if that
It
could be
could
the
be a
ultimate
phased approach.
goal.
Right.
It's not gonna happen quickly if it's phased, but,
Right.
you can start there and understand what your direction is for the future, and some of that is also having that conversation with the community of, we have an ultimate goal, and we're being responsible for dollars, and this is how we're doing it, so that they understand this wasn't the 7 of you sitting in a boardroom making decisions. And if actually you've talked to other people, you've made a long-term plan, you haven't just looked at what's right in front of you today.
Say first things first, get the committee going.
I would also like to have some more insight into besides what we think, might happen if we put 5th grade here or 5th grade there. Like some research to back up what's happened in other places. What's the learning implications? What's the achievement look like? What are the opportunities? What's the psychological maturity behavior aspects? Like, can we find anything that points us one way or the other?
That's probably a me job.
I know that we
I don't-
talked about some of that at the Overbrook meeting, which is what kind of
We did.
perked me up, it was like, well.
And Carrie and I talked about that at
Yes.
this meeting, before you were on the board, we talked about some of that research.
But it is valuable information, and to have some literature and stuff to support that is extremely important.
The research says this is simply put about the research. The research says the longer you can keep kids together, the better. That's why a lot of even one campus concepts, like Osage City, for example, they've got them all there together, but the transitions are better. They know all the teachers, they have, like kind of collaborative concepts between the buildings, even though they're separated operations and programs, they're all there on this one place. There's a lot of K-8 buildings. That doesn't mean they're all going to school together and they're not separating kind of the programs, but they have this longevity together. A lot of smaller districts do that because they have fewer kids, and then they don't have to have so many administrators and so many different programs and operations and whatnot, but they can manage a K-8 building because they have fewer kids, but that longevity is very good for them, especially if they've got the same administrators, they see those same teachers over and over, and they grow through the district. So the research says that about any concept, is the longer you keep the kids together and the fewer transitions you have, the better it is for learning. And that's what the big picture is on all of it. The more we split our kids up, the harder it is. And it's not just harder on the kids, it's also harder on the families to, I think, be part of each school's culture, each school's way of doing things, each school's communication model, each school's behavior model. All of those things change from building to building, principal to principal, teacher staff to teacher staff, and sometimes even curricular structures to curricular structures. We've tried to mitigate that, but it's harder to mitigate it when our teachers don't get to work together collectively on a vast vertical model, unless we have PD days together to actually pinpoint that. So that vertical alignment, right, going from PK all the way up, that's hard for trail. Like, we have to set PD days to do that, to get all those teachers in the same room and work that way and build and align curriculum that way. We have resources that we all use, but, you know, our third and fourth grade teachers, how often do they talk? I mean, not that often. We have to set that time, especially for them. Our 8th grade and 9th grade teachers, you know, that transition, that's a very important transition. Preschool, that's a huge one. We have a very isolated preschool. I don't think it's poorly run. I love our preschool. I think it's great. This building has been great for it, and they get to have the whole building to themselves, and I think they love that. So I don't want to speak to the preschool not loving this. They do. But they operate in isolation, and it's very different. And so they don't get to see kindergarten and very often. So that research there, I know, is very valuable. That is always the forefront of what I'm thinking.
And not just for us, but for anybody
Come on
involved
in,
in
boys.
understanding it better to make a informed decision.
Yeah.
It's changing.
It is. A lot of people are moving to 6, 7, and 8 as the true middle school model. A lot of Kansas schools for a long time were junior high concept, which is true 7, 8. And a lot are moving to 6, 7, 8. There's some 5, 8s. But 6, 8 is that, I would say, stellar model for middle school where you can run operations for 6, 7, and 8 in the same way. They all have the same elective options. They have similar teachers, and they run that model. The 4, 8 model is not common. I would think Justin and I talked a little bit about it a little bit. They looked up a few more models.
Struggling to find
Yeah.
any examples.
There's not a lot.
Yeah.
Clearwater was one that we actually found it was a separate called intermediate building, and it was 4, 8. Similar population to us.
Ridge and Halstead are pretty close, and you'll find their 4-8 as well.
But they were on
So
a
when we
campus,
say-
but they were on a campus with other grades though,
Yeah,
together.
I'm just going off what they told me.
Okay. Okay.
And the data I found. So when we say transition, are we defining that as a different building, or is that from elementary to middle, middle to high school? What do we, I just wanted,
Like both, I mean, because whether you.
so I guess my question is one campus, how do you solve for the transitions if it's a natural transition? Right, I mean, kids are gonna have to transition from elementary to middle and middle to high school, right? So you're gonna have,
When they're still separate buildings, just because they wasn't traveling as far, they're still moving to different buildings.
yeah, so I
But I
mean,
feel like if you're on one I mean, just for example, if you're on one campus though, you have, like, the preschool would have access to the kindergarten, they could go to the kindergarten. they could-
Interact with the other
Yes, they
buildings.
could see so it wouldn't be as big of a transition.
preschool, I don't disagree necessarily, I guess, I'm not saying I don't consider that, I'm looking.
I would say a transition for me is like, because our preschool is here, K3 there, 4-8 there, those are all transitions. If PK through 5 was all in one building, all one principal, all, that eliminates quite a few transitions.
So I guess before we go, I don't know, maybe make too many decisions, what, option 4 that you had? You had 4 options, right? Was,
That was keep it as is and just fix what's wrong with the building,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Oh,
just
except.
moving everybody
keep
around
it as it is.
into more natural
Well,
transitions.
Oh,
Reorganize existing, so I think we need to dig a little deeper, because we've gone from reorganizing twice out of capital outlay to $11 million. I mean, I know there's more to it, but, I mean, that's a big jump.
And I think that includes all the things they believe need.
There's a lot of upgrades within that.
Yeah.
That need to be done.
Yeah, but if you're talking, do a bond issue for heating and air units and stuff, they did that years ago, and that caused us nothing but problems for how long, because they all the same age and went out all the same time.
Well, and a lot of those things, we've done, so.
Oh, yeah, I know, I just, the first, when they did the one for 4.6, part of it was to get people to buy in. They said, maintain the building we're already paying you for. We don't wanna pay an extra bond for you to maintain the buildings. So I think that needs to be looked at, if that makes any sense. That's some of the feedback that some of them when I came on board that they was talking about, that was very important. Because what they do 3 times to get that?
For the domes,
Yeah.
How many bonds went up before it succeeded, I
Yeah.
guess? I don't think it was.
I thought it passed the first time.
No.
It was third time?
I know it was at least twice.
Oh, they took out, didn't they take out though, a middle school?
They scaled it,
That's
out.
what I thought it was a
and
middle
stuff.
school that did
And part of
some.
that was they went back and they waited a few years, I think it was your classroom one that got remodeled before? And that was part of it, they spent a few years and they maintained the things they had, and then when they went back public, they said, look, we fixed what we have, now this is our needs for the new buildings. Does that make sense?
Sure.
That's kind of what our citizens
And we can
said.
look at all
The bond was,
these
if you
and dive
need it,
deep.
we're willing to help pay for it, but
Sure.
if you're just looking for upgrading and maintaining what we're already paying for, the taxes, then maybe that's where the no-nos came out.
Was there a middle
Am
school?
I right on that, Mary? You was right. Yeah, that's the consensus kind of like
So that would be like scenario 4 is what you're talking about.
So just,
Think
uh,
about it that way.
Dive deeper
Yeah,
into
Till I
it.
get where
And
you're
look at what
saying.
the numbers are representing, if they're representing things that we can do in capital outlay, remove those out of the bond and do those in
Yeah.
capital outlay and use bond money to remodel spaces that need remodeling to fit a middle school concept in
if you're on
Belvedere.
an ag program and you need some money for that, I'm sure that's part of it they're gonna go for, but if you're talking about just maintaining stuff, I don't think that's something that's gonna be very popular.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think too, like, you know, we had talked about repurposing, say Scranton, for example, and, I mean, if the school's getting paid for that too, you know, that's something that people need to know also, like, we are getting income from this. One other thing though I wanted to talk about, the 6 through 8. So with numbers declining, I think we really need to look at having 6 through 8 together, just personally, because we might have to have 6th graders come up to play sports in junior high. I know there's a bunch of schools that already pull up 6th graders because they don't have enough kids.
Which I think every option covers that, right?
Well, there was one that we only had a 7th and 8th.
Okay,
They didn't
scenario,
have 6th and
scenario
9th.
one, but it was still all one campus
So,
in that
yeah,
scenario.
that was
You're
on
right.
my campus.
Yeah, that was the
Oh,
first.
they were still in the, oh, okay.
It was just
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
What was option 2?
option 2 was Carbondale.
Oh,
pre-K
6,
brings
7,
in
8. It
was 6,
sixth
7,
through
8.
eighth additional.
Yeah. I just personally think we need 6 through 8 for sure.
And does that, that option has like another gym?
Yes.
In the blue section,
But only one more gym, right? Not 5? Well, because isn't that what was said, that we need a total of 5 gyms to account for closing any of the schools?
Yeah, but that's just with 6, 7, 8 there, nothing else.
we would still have.
So they'd have 3 gyms there.
There'd be 3 gyms at the high school, and then the other 2 gyms would be at the other 2 buildings. That was if there was a district-wide, how many gyms we
You
need.
say 2 buildings, but there's only 1 there.
There is.
Carbondale, right?
Yeah,
Because
you just
Overbrook
said
and Scranton would be closer, so you'd be
Right,
at
so we
4
would
instead
still
of
be
5,
short a
but
gym.
you needed.
But what was said is that we need 5 gyms
Yeah.
to.
And I think that that's something we can continue to refine on how to have 4 gyms or 5 gyms and what that cost means and a lot of different scenarios.
Multi-purpose space.
3 at the high school and 2 at Playground.
Well, something, but none of those examples, I think, accounted for that.
So I have, okay, so go back to 1, scenario 1, because I did notice when I was looking at before, there's a gym and a wrestling room on the 7-8 edition, so is that technically 2 gyms, I'm assuming? That's what that is?
Well, yeah, wrestling room can be
Wrestling
used only
needs to
for
be the size of
wrestling.
the gym.
But I mean, like,
And
this,
Also had a question with it, we, like the bigger band room to accommodate, is that just for the junior high or does that solve the space problems in the school? Like, is that
yeah, because we still
would
put
it be a shared space?
Yeah, it doesn't really address that high school need necessarily.
Because in the yellow, there's 1 gym, right?
Correct.
Oh, that's.
So none of these options address any of the concerns from the high school perspective, like, the band room,
No.
the ad concern.
No.
Right, these are just looking at the, in any of these situations, the high school remains the same minus some upgrades or whatever that need to be made, is that right?
Yeah, you wanna talk about the long high school list that we talked to them about?
Yeah, there was, we have
Very long,
lots of
about this
line
line.
items of things to do at the high school. And so working through and prioritizing those into what are the major things, like minimums that we need to do to, in that building.
And then use the rest as long-term capital outlay planning and do things there. But it doesn't change the building per se a ton, except for that entrance there, that is a new entrance, for the middle school.
Yeah, that would,
That would change the
addition to
front
that
entrance of the
building
high
will,
school.
yeah,
as well.
provide a secure entry to that building. which is
Where is, I couldn't find that on this one, where is the entrance? Or the high school, where would you?
So you can
We go
come
in that
in
way.
here and you could go one way to the high school and one way to the
Okay, so the office.
So to do the yellow building, you tear down the old district office.
in this
If that-
current,
yeah.
I think we can look at some different options, more decades post. Yeah.
We got like 2 minutes.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
anybody, quick questions? Nothing, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll
Yeah,
decide.
We'll continue to talk about
Not a
this,
meeting,
continue to
whatever.
get a lot of information. Absolutely.
You guys probably need to process a little bit,
Sure.
ask more questions, you guys can give me lots of feedback.
Thank you guys for coming.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys, are we adjourned? We're adjourned.
Got-
Before the next one.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. As many cookies as you can.
Use your time wisely.
think so.
4.5 resignation of personnel.
Yep.
And 5.0 employment of personnel. And you would like to remove 10.0.
Correct.
Executive session.
Correct.
Okay.
Motion to approve is amended.
Motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor? All right. 3.1, high school FBLA. That you gave?
Yep.
All right.
My partner told me that it's practicing a little bit, so it's gonna be today. So I'm just here to, every year, the national level gives us chapter tasks to, add points so we can get national recognition. So one of my tasks this month was to give a presentation to my school board about the importance of CTE in the student body. So yeah, it's the importance of CTE on the body, on the student body. What is CTE? CTE is career and technical education. It's the practice of teaching specific career skills to students in middle school, high school, and post-secondary institutions. Why is it important? CTE focuses on hands-on learning. The CTE program focuses on hands-on learning. Students don't learn the same. Some students don't learn the same way as others. Some students learn from a teacher lecturing in class, speaking to the class, and some students learn from getting their hands on something and using it and working with it. CTE can lead to success in college. Rather than diverting a college-bound student's attention away from college preparation classes, CTE can work in tandem with this goal. A Fordham Institute study revealed that students taking more CTE classes are just as likely to pursue a 4-year degree as their peers who are not taking those classes. CTE sets the path for high wage jobs. According to a U.S. Department of Education study of workers of 8 years after high school graduation, those who focus on CTE courses in high school had a higher average annual earnings than non-CTE students. Many of today's top employers, stakeholders, and policymakers are strong advocates for CTE because they have seen positive results in their industries. It also can improve graduation rates. When young people feel their classes are not relevant to their lives, they often disengage. Some students struggle to see the point in studying, keeping up with their grades, or remaining in school. However, CTE programs can be the bridge that keeps these kids engaged in learning. There is a direct link between CTE and lower dropout rates and higher student achievement levels. And for the final one, it teaches soft skills. CTE students also learn soft skills that will serve them no matter where the future takes them. These soft skills that employers and college admissions officers value in their employees include critical thinking, collaboration, teamwork, innovation, and communication and time management, which all of these classes that our high school offers values and teaches for their students. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, he said that the whole time, and was like, where's Tyler, where's Tyler? And Tyler's like, I'm on my way. I was like, well, your senioritis is late. Turn around and go.
But on that, do you guys have any questions about any parts of our CTE program?
No, but I feel like he may be a valuable part for getting buy-in as we try to
Yeah.
increase CTE. I thought that was cool information.
Yeah.
Good job.
We'll heckle Tyler Bolt.
Yeah.
Does our board know that our ag pathway is officially passed by the state?
No.
Yeah, our pathway is approved by the state, so we're
We're
flying.
Oh, yay.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Quick.
But I don't know what
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah, right, I'm just gonna take.
Okay, any questions on the consent agenda?
No.
No.
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve consent agenda?
Second?
Second, all in favor? Alright. 5.0 personnel report, how much time?
20 minutes?
20 minutes the first time?
Okay.
Come back out.
30 minutes?
Okay.
Let's do 30. Let's do
Whatever,
30.
whatever you say.
Let's do 30.
30.
I get 50. Okay. Mr. President, I move we go into executive session to discuss personnel pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under coma, and the open meeting will resume in the boardroom at 6:37 with Dave Torrey present.
Okay, motion,
I'll second.
second, all in favor?
Come back out, so let's call it
Sorry,
40
Jim.
minutes, we'll go 11 minutes.
11 minutes.
All four.
I gotcha.
Okay.
We could get some.
my room.
Yeah?
I changed it.
Still
Okay. Okay. You wouldn't touch each other anyway.
30 more minutes?
No, Justin.
Well,
No, that's fine. That's fine, at least you had the result.
I need a second to get.
I just wanted to make sure you had the confirmation number.
Are we good?
Yes.
Personnel report as presented.
Motion.
We have a motion, personnel report,
I'll second.
and a second. All in favor? All right. That brings us to administrators. Anyone want to go first? Or is anybody have anything to say?
All right, I'll start with board goal 2, and then I'll do charters. Board goal 2 was student achievement. I know previously you guys have seen like our action plans and different things, so I just kind of outlined those in here. We have done a lot with student achievement. We've really focused on our data this year and targeted interventions, working with TASN and going through class-wides. We've seen a lot of success with those. You've seen our fast bridge reports. We have a lot of growth still to make in those areas. But just key parts of those I just kind of outlined in your board packets, like 10 steps that we've been working on. We've really focused on our targeted small group interventions, working on our class-wides, which comes along with the core teachers and really hitting on those interventions that align with our tier 1. Site-word alignment, that's more at the K1 level. Really recognizing academic growth with scoreboards and then having like school-wide wigs. We had Gray for a Day come in and celebrate with us where the kids got to learn going through different stations, like kind of what it's like to age. So they would like, put cotton balls in their ear and try to hear, and they would put popcorn kernels in their shoes like they were on bunions, and it was really fun. They liked it a lot.
Whitley walked around with those kernels in her shoes until evening, like until bedtime.
Yeah, and so they really get motivated to work for so
Did you do that?
No, the kids did. They were like, Miss O, I'm never gonna get old.
Hands, they had popsicle sticks like they're gonna have.
yes, they have arthritis. Yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of fun. We're still really working on common assessments. Having new curriculum has helped, new resources for that, so we can do that. We always can make improvements there. Lots of data-driven instruction. We're constantly looking at our progress monitoring, high-impact instructional routines. I've asked the staff to focus on a different one, and then they report back how they've done it in their PLCs. That's been nice because they all tweak it or do something different, so they've been able to showcase and share with their colleagues. And then just continue with that sense of urgency and curriculum delivery, referencing our objectives. And then those teachers have really, each one of them has a SMART goal for their fluency, and they look at their data all the time for themselves, for their kids to make growth. And it's been fun to watch, like, even some of them will look at it before we even get to PLCs, and they're like showing me their data, or they're like, my kids went up this many minutes. I don't know, Lizzie, would you say that we've looked at data in a different role this year?
Yeah.
So they get really excited, and I get excited when they get excited. So, but our improved desired outcomes is we want to hit that fluency, but we want to keep working on decoding, vocabulary, and problem-solving skills, continue to look at data, and then just that enhanced engagement, that enhanced academic engagement in the classroom. So that's it for that. And then my charters. We did double duty. So I had a classified and a certified. My classified charger of the month was Lydia Simpson. She is an academic coach in my building. She came new to us mid-year last year. Fun fact, my certified person was Dustin Roberts, my PE teacher, and they're dating, so it was so cute.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she goes, what? So anyways, Lydia is very invaluable. Sorry, I just outed them to the whole world. I think everybody knows. But
I think you know everybody knows. Yeah.
You were correct.
they do now. So yes, Lydia is great. You would not know that she is new to her role. She's the person that you give a task to. She asks some clarifying questions. She runs with it. She brings it back to you, and it's done. She has done such a great job that we've actually, you know, when you're like really good at your job and then your job just keeps growing, that's her checklist because everything we give her, she excels at. So I appreciate her so much, and she has just a fun relationship with the kids, and they're always asking, you know, if she's gone or something, where she is, or if her group time's missed, and she will step up to the plate and do everything. Mr. Roberts is just hands down the best PE teacher I've ever been around in an elementary setting. I mean, I would invite you to come in. I go to PE because it brings me joy, and I'll play with the kids and do activities with them on occasion because it is so fun and it's so engaging. And his goal was to, when he very first came, our kids did not have a good sense of losing with grace. And he has really instilled in them about, you know, we're a team and this is how we do things. And I would see them throw fits. I would get behavior reports. Throw scooters. They were upset because they did not know how to lose. He wants them to still like maintain that I want to be a winner, but when I don't, how to react with that. And in his time, I have seen that change in our kids, and we've talked about that, him and I just personally, and so I think that's so great because that's a life skill for them, and he's teaching them that in PE. And then he's just amazing because he will, if you want to like cross plan with him, he'll work with STEM, he'll work with music, and they're constantly doing activities together. Him and Miss Nelson just wrote a grant, I don't know if they'll get it or not, for to do like the drum line with the balls and then the dancing so that they can do like music and kinesthetic activity through PE and movement, but then keeping rhythm and beats through music. So they've been a very good match. But sorry, I could go on and on about them. Yeah. I'm done.
Oh, kids.
Oh, the kids. I'm sorry. I love the kids too. I'm sensing this over here. He's like, she's still talking. Yes. Okay.
It's just making our part shorter.
I'm sorry.
It's mine. I'll make up for it.
Katie Portlock. She was our Charger of the Month. Katie is on our student leadership team. She's been the voice several times. She is just a really fun kid. She got a lot of recognitions because when we did our Jump Rope for Heart, we needed a kid to wear a duck costume and walk around and then like do like little quacking things whenever they would tell her to, and she was like, all right, this is mildly embarrassing, but she did it and she had a great time with it. And she's just one of those kids that you can pretty much ask to do anything and she'll do it, and she'll do it with a smile on her face, and she's a people pleaser. She is a good friend. She's a great kid. Avery Padilla was our other one. She's also a third grade student. She got nominated by teachers. She's so respectful. She just is a yes, absolutely, or I'm done with my assignment. Who can I help?
You should have seen how she spoke to Dwayne when he came in and gave her that. And,
and I missed that because I was
oh my
gone.
goodness, she was just like, sound like a little adult, just so respectful. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. I love my certificate. Look at my gold star. I mean, it was just so, and she's I was like,
yes, and she's a very good friend. And so when we were describing her, I said, Avery, does that sound like you? And she's like, yeah, it really does. And I was, and so that's so good for kids to hear how people see them through like our eyes, and then reflect on that and just know that that's really how they should see themselves too. So, okay, now I'm really done.
Are you sure?
I am.
Okay. All right. So at the junior high, I'm going to talk a little bit about goal 2, about reviewing student activity programs. So one thing I do at the beginning of each season is I meet with that season's athletic coaches and kind of go over expectations, schedules, answer any questions that they might have. At the end of the season, we do head coach evaluations, and I meet with the head coach, and not only do that evaluation part of it, but we also kind of identify what are our needs going forward, what worked, didn't work, or that is there equipment that we need to order for next year, those kinds of things, and that's part of that process. They do the same thing with their assistant coaches. So as far as athletics and activities, we are already on to spring sports at the junior high. It's hard to believe. Basketball finished up 2 weeks ago, boys basketball. Cheer just finished on Saturday. They had a cheer competition at Baldwin. That was kind of their final hurrah for the season. So we're already in the phase of scheduling cheer tryouts for next year. So, you know, we're looking at 2025, 2026 sports already, which is crazy. So track and golf practices start when they come back from spring break, and then we're rolling with those. So our participation numbers this year have been outstanding for junior high. I think I covered this before, but with the upcoming spring sports and other opportunities to be involved, we've gotten even more kids that haven't been out for something that are going to go out for either track or golf. So for 7th grade, we've got, out of 72 students, there's 67 of them that are out for whether it's basketball, track, Scholars Bowl, band, choir, anything you can be involved in. So 93% in 7th grade. 8th grade's a little bit lower. They've got 80 students and 67 of them are involved. So that's 83%. Again, that's going to go up a little bit as we get into spring sports. So let's see. Our chargers of the month. I don't remember which one was December and which one was January, but Carrie Gregoire, 4th grade teacher, was one of them. She's been outstanding. She's a planner, preparer. She knows her kids really well. Works great with our 4th grade staff. And Amy Colvin, same thing. She's kind of the mom of our 8th grade group. Works well with her students. Is kind of a voice for our 8th grade teaching team. And then our students of the month, our student chargers of the month were 2 8th graders, Georgia Lynch and Nathan Dickinson, both of them highly involved in any activity, and if they're not involved in an activity, they've been showing up at after school extracurriculars to support their classmates and have been leaders in that way. So that's what I've got.
And did you introduce your new coach?
Yes, Mary Burgett will be our junior high assistant golf coach. So she's excited about that, and we'll do a really good job with our junior high golf athletes.
Your little junior high kids, we hosted a KOI conference, is it okay if I talk?
Yeah.
I had a unit conference today, which is a big deal in my work. And so I tried to involve the junior high kids, and they were just awesome. It was fun. It was real fun. Our high school and junior high kids were really, you guys are proud. So you did a good job.
Mrs. Burgett stole a little of the thunder that I there you have that. I shared the board goals with you, board goal 2, and some participation numbers. Did you guys get a chance to see that by chance? Do you have any, I can go over all that, or do you have any questions on that? Because that was a lot of information I shared, and I can go by it piece by piece if you need to.
I'm gonna need you to read it all for
Yeah,
us.
you start with that line by
Are we serious?
No. You can talk to Stephanie.
That was a joke back. That was a joke back to me, we have a lot going on at the high school. I try to, here lately, especially with postseason coming up, really get Facebook updated so people know what's going on. Prices are increasing. State wrestling leaves tomorrow. Girls basketball plays tomorrow to Lisa Christian. Boys play at home against Addison County Community. So then we got the play going on next week. If boys and girls win, we play again next week. Spring sports start on Monday.
Holy cow.
So Lisa and I are trying to get all those paperwork, physicals, and all that for students that haven't participated yet. And I've talked to some of you and some of your wives to help me get physicals in. So we've been working on that real hard. Just a lot going on at the high school. It's kind of like the building that never sleeps. So there's always things going on, whether it's trail hand wrestling, softball's hitting in there, baseball's hitting. We've always got things going on, and if you have questions, just let us know.
I think Justin
Vegas?
has a question for you.
lights.
Yes, update on the, no, I do have an update.
What?
See?
Do you want the updates on the football field or the parking lot?
Yes.
Parking lot?
Yes.
He said yes.
Both. We got bids today on parking lot lights.
Yes,
What about your football field lights?
football field. we are still in negotiations, Justin.
Okay.
So there is really no new update on that.
Hey, we're still progress.
We are trying. And, you know, one of the things, like Austin said, when I do my meetings with our coaches at the beginning and the parents meeting, then I meet with the coaches at the end, I do a needs versus want list. And Mrs. Ford, you've seen this because I come to her with our coach, this is year-to-year stuff that we have to continue our program. This is stuff that we want. And we are trying real hard to get stuff that we want because we are trying to catch up.
Is that how you tell me?
In fewer words. I'm gonna be a little bit more forceful on what we got to have. But I will say that she's been very good at understanding that over my time here, that we are really trying to upgrade our stuff for our kids.
You've done a great job.
And everything that we try to do is for our kids and for our coaches. It's not about us, it's just giving them opportunities. So, we appreciate what she does. We do a lot of fundraising and she'll say, hey, if they can fundraise for half of it, we'll pay half. And then, we negotiate that a little bit. And so we just do a good job with that. So it's a good deal and our coaches are appreciative of that. So thank you for getting us stuff, and I've got a list coming, so.
Get ready to negotiate, and you keep saying lots of good things about me. He's good, he'll be a great retired car salesman.
But anyway, we appreciate you guys too and supporting us in what we're doing, so thank you.
Absolutely. Keep up the good work.
We're trying.
Look good, play good, right?
That's right. Absolutely. Feel good, play good, and have good equipment.
To kind of piggyback on Chris's statement about things going on, hopefully you're keeping up with the high school newsletter so you can see that. I like to celebrate what the kids are doing. Want to get all the information out there of not just athletics, but the activities, the clubs, the organizations, what they're doing in the classroom. And that really does align with Standard 2 or Goal 2 that we have for the board goal in terms of student achievement, providing them the opportunities to show what they're capable of and the experiences so they can grow and improve. Like in addition to our conference with KAY, we also sent kids on a field trip down to Wichita to an aviation company and had a lot of success with that, expanding the opportunities for them to be introduced to different career fields that are available that directly aligns with the CTE initiatives that Gabe was talking about. So thank you for your support in those endeavors. Speaking with the community and the stakeholders, CTE is definitely a route that we need to emphasize a lot more. And like the agriculture programming that we're implementing, that's a major component of it. So I think these are opportunities that our students are going to take advantage of. It is going to help them grow with their progress. And on the flip side of that, the teachers are supporting all these endeavors as well. We have the implementation of the framework, the instructional framework, with all the high-yield instructional strategies that teachers are implementing in the classroom. We're continuing to train on those and to progress with the use of those through the class, through each of their classes. And then the students are also gaining more familiarity with their individual plans of study. Hopefully, for those of you that have students at the high school, you've heard them talk about that, talk about Naviance, Strengths Explorers, some of the questions in the curriculum that we're doing along the lines of the IPS program. And we're going to keep expanding that and integrating more as we go. And hopefully the students will be able to identify kind of their career track and pathways that they can take to explore and expand their knowledge and understanding of what's available for them for their post-secondary future. In terms of other things, like I said, with the stakeholder feedback, we're trying to expand not just CTE, but other opportunities. I believe that our relationship with Allen County is continuing to grow. I just got some communication from them today, asking if we have additional teachers that would be interested in getting the credentials so we can offer more Allen County classes out of trail. So hopefully we can continue that endeavor as well. I really like pushing the kids to reach higher goals, set their expectations higher for themselves. And one of those avenues is pushing them into some more rigorous courses. Washburn Tech is another avenue that a lot of students take advantage of. So if we can continue to expand those relationships and provide those opportunities for students, I think that's going to be very beneficial. So that is some of the work that we are currently doing that relates to Goal 2 on this. Charges of the month. So for December and January, so we had one classified staff member, Sue Olson, is a para in the building. Kids like her, they work very well with her. She's been around for quite a while. And then our certified staff was Jessica Nicholson, our ELA teacher that we stole from the elementary. So she has been a great benefit to the high school. She fits in very well. The students have really gravitate towards her. She makes great relationships, connects well with the kids. So very excited to see her on that list. And then our students, we had 2 seniors, Tyler Bolt and Katie Piper, a couple of true leaders in that senior class. They have done a lot. Yeah, I might dog on Tyler a little bit because he didn't show to this, but he got this reward prior to the meeting, so maybe that's what we should have waited on that. Very, very good choices. Those kids are wonderful in the building, and they have a true positive impact.
And we get both the Piper girls over here in the preschool for their early childhood teaching pathway, and they are dynamite with these kids, so. I actually got them mixed up. One told me it was in Julie's room, and I walked in, it's like, started reading it, I was like, oh, this is Josie. This works for your sister, so I had to go down the hall to find Katie, because I walked in, I started reading, I go, you're Josie, aren't you? This works for your sister, so let's go down and tell her you're good. I go, you will be nominated too, I promise. I know you'll be in there. Seen your name before, so that was silly. Anyway, they do fantastic in the preschool, so I wanted to just give them a shout out for that, because they've done a great job over here too, so. Preschool goals, I'll talk to you about those. Julie Flory I just want to give props to her. She has really taken a lead with collaboration and working with the preschool staff. She went back to school and got her administrative degree and her license, and really helping me out here to help free up that role that I had with the preschool and taking some leadership in that. And she's done a great job with leading her team through some big changes very quickly that I know that it's hard to have change, and how to navigate some philosophical thoughts about preschool and what preschool looks like, and also work through trying new things, but also taking our time to evaluate the effectiveness of it and is it good, but to also align to kindergarten readiness. So we've got early childhood math now that is bridges that aligns to what they're doing K through 3. And we've got, we are using pieces of the same reading content, only a few pieces of it, not the entire curriculum, but open core is what they use, K through 3 as well. And so now our preschool is using some pieces with the letter recognition, letter sounds of that program in preschool for the early childhood piece. And then for the first time this year, they're piloting Fast Bridge at the preschool. There's a lot of schools that are doing it through the state of Kansas. There's some kind of hiccups we've had through it because there's ways that we've taught certain skill sets to kids that they test them a little bit different in practicum. And so we've had to think about how we teach kids about letter sounds and letter recognition, not to match the test, but to do it in a different way, in a different manner. So there's been a few things there that we're trying to tweak a little bit in how we teach some of these things, but they've embraced it. And I will give Julie and her team just some props for really embracing those and taking them on, even though I know there's some challenges and some thoughts on some of the ways those things are done with our littles, because I know they're still really little and they're not expected to read when they leave us. Our standards do not talk about those things. A lot of it's social, emotional learning, and so there's a lot of pre-academic skills in there. So, but it's up the ante a little bit and provided a little bit more rigor and a little more opportunity for some of our kids, and some of our kids are ready. There are some kids, we have had preschool kids that are ready to read. So what do we do for them? Are we meeting the needs of all the kids and bringing them all along a growth path? So I'm very proud of the team. Those are things they're working on with student achievement. They're also always continuing to engage parents. They want to have a music concert, like a preschool music program. So we haven't done that, so we're talking about planning that for our parents this year to have an actual music program, even though we don't have a music teacher, but we'll do the music. And so we thought about that. We're talking about some different ways to engage parents in the preschool and get them in. And then we do parent education. They send out newsletters. We have a page out of our newsletter that always has some sort of a piece for parents to help them at home with preschool readiness, not just kindergarten readiness, but coming to preschool prepared for what preschool will do. So things just even potty training skills and things like that, where we get kids that struggle to get that before kindergarten, so. Anyway, that's preschool, so, thanks for listening.
Anybody else have any?
Hey, Tanners, we go to that game tomorrow, no shot clock in the postseason.
No shot clock?
No shot clock postseason, it was just a regular season. So if you're wondering, I just thought I'd give you that, you guys going to the basketball game.
Yeah, I wasn't wondering, but I.
Tomorrow when they do the game.
Well, it's not going on,
He's gonna wonder why it's not working.
Yeah, he's gonna wonder why it's not working.
Okay, so you didn't have to do it this year?
No, it was-
Some
yeah.
schools just did it to be practiced and ready. for
Okay,
next year.
so by next
It was
year,
a trial.
we'll be there.
No, it's not officially in yet next
Oh,
year
it's
for
not even
everybody,
officially
no.
in?
This was a trial year in our league.
Yeah.
Just to be in the trial year. So we paid for all that stuff, once again, I taking this floor, begging for shot clocks, and so, since our league had to do it.
So that was a want or a need, I guess?
The
That-
league decided.
That turned into a need because the league as a whole
Yeah.
decided everyone was gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I agree.
And I wanna say one more thing, I know we're talking a lot, but, we did go to Texas last week, and so for student achievement, I wanna talk about and celebrate our teachers at Overbrook, what a outstanding group of educators at Overbrook, and I am so thankful that, they got recognized on the big stage, in Texas, we got to go do that, and, just, what a cool opportunity, pretty neat to just say that, wow, little Overbrook, Kansas, they're with, schools from all over the country, get to have their, even just holding up the banner with the camera and saying, look what we did, it was pretty awesome, so. It was not warm there, I will say that, it was 5 degrees the day we arrived and 22 the day we left, so Lizzie's the only one that can tolerate the cold, so I don't think she brought a jacket, but I was in my
Own a jacket.
hat and my coat and freezing, but, and Laura Lee went to quite a few great sessions. I went to a lot of, United States, Federal Department of Education meetings, they were giving all sorts of updates, Lizzie, you went to some good sessions?
Yeah, I went to really
Some
good
good
ones.
sessions, so, it was a great event, it was great, camaraderie, just to hang out with staff and, just have a good time together and be at a cool conference together, so.
And I saw my college roommate.
Oh, yeah, she
She
ran
ran
into
like
people she
12
knew.
years.
Another Kansas school was there, Missouri school that won it was there, so we ran into a few close people, so it was a really cool opportunity.
It was fun.
Okay, Overbrook Parks Rec. Baseball.
Yep, all we're doing is the edits that, we put in are in that final document, and, I think we've discussed everything you guys wanted to talk about, unless there's anything else you want to change on there, and all we need to do is approve it and sign. Chris, did you have any thoughts on it?
No, I think Kyle and I talked about everything we
Okay.
needed to.
Shutting the lights
And
on.
now we-
So when the lights don't get shut off, can I call you?
I think so.
Like, is it Blair's in your back?
Because trying to my bedroom.
Can you just walk up and just shut them off?
I have before. I have all lights, yeah.
You got a key for that?
We used to have.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we give Miss.
No. I have a code, there's no
Sounds like it's your job now.
Until she starts shooting out lights.
Okay, so, did anybody have any
Do we
questions?
need a motion or?
Anything's good? Okay, yeah.
Motion to move forward with the Overbrook Parks and Rec baseball MOU.
Good motion? Second, all in favor?
And the only other thing I'll say is I'll probably take this exact same,
Yes, to Carbondale?
To Carbondale,
Okay.
okay?
Anybody should probably change it.
No, I just wanted to wait till this was approved, so we had kind of a model to use and then take it to them and tweak it if they need.
Yeah, I'm glad to finally get something on paper after we've talked about this for like 5 years or so. Yeah, so nice to have something on paper.
Okay, 8.1, new bank accounts.
So we've been talking about using credit card options in the district for quite some time. We do it for Red Track when you pay student fees, enrollment, lunch, technology, things like that through Red Track. But we haven't been able to use it for, if you wanna get into a ball game, if you wanna use it for the concession stands. A lot of school districts do it. I don't know why we haven't really looked into it in the past. I think there's probably some business side things to it that were maybe complicated that we didn't look into. But we looked into it, had Kaylee talk to our banks about it and what they suggested. They did suggest we have some new accounts to keep those separate. They will still flow through the same accounts into the activity funds and whatnot, but it will kind of secure those just a little bit better because they are credit card transactions. So, and then Andy helped us with some of the technical pieces. So we're ordering a couple of the, you want to talk about what those are called so you can say the real technical words?
Mobile, well, kiosk type units were, the actual, gates will have it's basically a cell phone, but it's not, it's a Wi-Fi connected device that, they'll be able to click and then, tap to pay. So it'll have all the options built into it, and then the concession stands will have basically an iPad in the stand that has all the different payment options on it. It's just like you would use at a kind of any store where they kind of spin it around and let you, it's that kind of setup.
We're not asking for tips at the concession stand, are we?
Tips?
Yeah.
Oh,
Where they- everything
Yeah,
puts it
they
on.
always ask, can you make it to where that doesn't ask for it?
Yeah, I know.
So is there a transaction fee with every single one of those?
Yes, there will be. And so and it will say that we'll have all sorts of signage that will say, if you want to use a credit card, you will pay, you'll pay
Go to them.
yes, so then we just push the button and that goes to them. Yep,
Now,
RevTrak, we're still paying that, right?
yes,
Okay.
and we pay that for years.
Yeah, I like it for RevTrak. I'm glad that we're past it.
Yes, and they have the option, they can still pay cash, and that's absolutely fine. So it's just an option and I think a lot of people that want the convenience I pay it all the time for the convenience of it.
$2.
Yeah, it's like a convenience fee essentially.
Yes, there will be some hardware costs for sure.
And the hardware costs, though, we're only doing a couple for the high school and the junior high. We're not doing Overbrook at this time. So,
Which, is there a reason to do it?
no, we talked about some
Like
things.
we wanted to, like, if we were putting something on at parent-teacher conference nights, like if we wanted to sell the flags.
So isn't it possible that we can move those to Overbrook for a night like that? Right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
ours would be very limited.
Yeah.
A lot of times from our ticket takers, I've got the response that a lot of visiting schools will say, hey, can I just pay the card? And they can't, and so then if they don't have cash, it presents a problem, so just.
That was gonna kind of be my question. We get used to doing this, and if we have a glitch in the system and it doesn't work, how are we going to approach that with people like at the gate?
So we're gonna be using.
Call Andy.
I made
Yeah.
sure the system has a Wi-Fi offline mode, so,
Okay.
if it goes offline, it
It'll
would,
still,
the transactions would stay on the device, and then when you got it back on the internet, it would upload and take care
So it's
of
like
it.
when the card gets hit.
yeah, I just, because if people get used to this, then they'll carry cash, and they're like, oh, no, it feels like
I will say on the transaction, passing the transaction fee on to them, there's a lot of legal stuff involved with it. And Square, because of different states handle it different ways, they don't allow us to actually do the one-for-one transaction costs back to them. So we're basically gonna do an average, like it's a $20 transaction, like there's gonna be a button that says, okay, this is a 25-cent fee. So it's just gonna be kind of a set. If you're gonna use a credit card, you're gonna have a 25-cent transaction fee on it. It's just a set amount that we feel like it's gonna cover the highs and the lows, basically. So you may not.
And be legal in our.
And still be legal. We gotta have signage, we gotta have all this other stuff that goes along with it, but, that's just the way that we're gonna have to do it to make it work.
Yeah, what we've seen consistently with the groups that do, I mean, it sounds like what I've seen.
So we just need approval then, the action we need is to, open 3 new accounts.
Does it cost per account?
Just the hardware, the account, so it costs.
Just the bank accounts.
Oh, you're just talking the bank account?
Yes, the bank accounts. We need board approval to open new bank accounts.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to open new
Got a
bank
motion and a
accounts.
second, Ms. Michelle? All in favor? Perfect. That brings us to district calendar.
So we have a calendar committee that meets every year, and we have representation from every building. We make sure we have NEA on there, and make sure I have Amy Hill on there, she's the minutes master. Our ADs are on there because they're the calendar absorbers. Then we talked through all the logistics that go into building a calendar. Now, this is the master calendar at a glance. This doesn't have every single ball game and every single, like, when the third grade concert is. It's not all that stuff. So you guys approved the master calendar for compliance of our required minutes, which is hours, is 1,116 of those, or you can do 185 days. So we've always done the hours to be in compliance with those minutes. So the committee talked a lot about, we went back and forth a lot on taking off the entire week of Thanksgiving. We did not, in the end, decide that was best for a lot of reasons. It makes spring really heavy, it makes fall and winter, first semester very light with days. It's hard on classified staff that need to be here and work, and if they don't get paid, or they're not here, they don't get paid. And then we have another holiday where they have all these days off in a row, the ones that like are especially our paras. Those are small paychecks coming into holiday time, that's rough. And for parents, Thanksgiving's not till Thursday, parents are still working usually up until then. And if they take leave, they can use their leave if they want to be gone. If teachers want to be gone, I guess they just use their leave to do it. So we talked a lot about it, kind of ran through it. You guys have any thoughts on just that piece of it? No? I'm sure everybody would love to have the whole week off. I mean, that's a desirable thing. I just don't think it's a deal breaker for retention and improvement. We looked at how many teachers actually took off that week, and it wasn't very many. 2, yeah, it was like 2. So I didn't feel like it was a deal breaker on, like, this is an absolute deal breaker for keeping teachers around. Otherwise, I would have really considered it. High school, we are wanting to do a couple new things with homecoming. We are recommending we do a full district dismissal, early release for the day of homecoming. We felt if we kind of hyped some things up, we want to do a large district-wide, all 3 community event. It will still be in one community and rotate, but we want to invite businesses and people from all towns because it kind of gets, well, this is Carbondale, so only Carbondale shows up and it's over. So, and have food trucks and vendors and have a carnival, and so people can come and do all this homecoming stuff together and make a really big event of it and really go out and sell it to the community. I know it's hard because it's Friday during the day. But just have some provisions in place that make it, desirable for everybody to come, and we make kind of a tradition of doing an early release on homecoming. Because right now we bus all the kids there, and then bus them back, or it's kind of chaotic, and their parents come and pick them up there, and it's just kind of back and forth and all over the place. So we would like to request that. That's new. We've never done that before that I am aware of.
So there would be no busing of kids, and you'd pick them up at the schools?
No, we would do routes. Kids could go home on their normal route. They would just go home at noon, though. Does that make sense? So parents could check them out. We're just not going to be busing kids to school's out, we would do normal dismissal.
So do we feel like there'll be a negative impact for students?
That's what I would. Yeah, so they won't be able to go to the homecoming.
Parents can't get off a half day to take their kids.
We're hoping it'd be the inverse of that, so parents will get their kids and go with their kids to the event. So we'll get full families there and not just the kids.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of, community, it's a lot of kids, and so.
I guess my concern is I feel like it's about the kids, not
Oh,
necessarily
sure.
about the parents. And sure, if your kid's a senior, that's different, but I just worry about the kids that aren't gonna be able to do that is my only concern.
Sure. And I guess, we could think about,
Could we run a
couple buses there, but we'd like parents to pick them up eventually or do something.
Yeah, because then we're responsible. If we bus them there, but now we're
Yeah.
responsible for them until a parent picks them up. I don't know that I like that.
I will say one of the adverse effects at the little kids level is that we get there and a lot of our parents do come and they'll sign their kids out. But they don't necessarily watch what is occurring, and so then there's issues that then begin to happen, behavioral issues, because especially as they get older, we've had kids say like, you can't tell me what to do, my parent already signed me out. Sometimes parents get frustrated because they're like, no, they're fine, they're with me, but they're not necessarily exhibiting the same behaviors that we would expect of our students. and then that offsets the rest of our students, and then they begin exhibiting some behaviors that are not necessarily what we would want them to be showcasing for Santa Fe Trail kids.
What percentage did you say check their kids out? We looked at that.
I know, and I don't remember.
It was a lot.
It was a large amount. I feel like it was like
70-some.
70%.
Yeah.
That
So a lot of
checked
parents come and check them out anyway.
So that's for littles, what about like
Yeah.
junior high level, I'm curious? Do you know?
What was the question?
Get us together, Austin. Do you know about
Chiefs go by, why can't you say something?
about what percentage of your
75.
kids? About what percentage of the kids get signed out for homecoming?
Oh, man, when we
Some
look,
of them are a
it's
little
about
older.
50-50. Yeah.
Okay, so we're already, I mean, I didn't know that, I didn't realize we had that many.
Yeah, there's a lot of parents.
One of our problems this year with students getting signed out is they would get signed out, but then they would come in a way and be with their class, and I can be on my phone and I can do all this stuff that you can't do without any supervision. So it kind of ties teachers' hands.
It's a hard monitoring day.
Yeah.
And I love it. I think it's great that kids are all there. It's just a hard monitoring day. And I think also just if we can bolster this event a little bit, Kyle and I bounced some ideas off of how to just kind of make it a cool event where hopefully parents will bring them and we'll have some things for the littles to do, as well as just, you know, we watch the high school kids a lot. We watch them dance, we watch them cheer, we watch the football players, we watch the cheerleaders, but could have some things that are Charger stuff that the littles could do too. We've talked to I've already talked to PTO. Maybe there could be some carnival type stuff. Talked about food trucks, talked about big kid, little kid stuff, so all sorts of just ideas to make it a big community event. I don't know.
I love it, I think it's
I
great.
love
I just
the
worry,
idea,
like you
yeah.
said, with the kids that don't get to go, it kind of stinks, but I.
And we do communication way ahead of time, so they would know this is a half day, where we're gonna be, what we're gonna do, have all the events posted, so people would know. I don't know, it'd be a great time for, I don't know, all three communities to come together.
So outside of the food trucks, would the BOE great for you?
The
idea is great. Like any carnival,
yeah, I
that
would-
type of thing would all
sure,
be
yeah.
like free to participate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have all those logistics,
Next
but.
year we'll be in
Food
Overbrook.
trucks can't help.
Yeah. What?
Next year we're in Overbrook.
It's not
Should
bad.
be
It's
granted here.
Granted,
Here?
yeah, we're here. And we've got a nice lot out there. It's a great place for it.
This is a good place to do it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a really good one. Okay, the other one is, we looked at minutes on this to make sure we could do this, and we've kind of tossed around a couple ideas about this, but through our Stronger Connections grant, one of the initiatives in that grant was to start this Link Crew initiative, which is a freshman kind of orientation, mentoring program throughout the school year for our youngest high school Chargers. So we have money, we've actually have people at training right now in Oregon, Washington, right now at training, some teachers that are gonna come back and then implement this program next year. The way to kick this program off is to have a freshman day. So we want to start the very first day of high school with freshmen only. All teachers will come in and do a freshman day, and then the rest of high schoolers won't start until the next day. We counted minutes, there's plenty of minutes in there for seniors and the rest of the students, but it would be dedicated to a transition today and this Link Crew initiative for our freshmen. Lots of schools do these things for kindergartners, sixth graders, freshmen. We've never, that I know of, since I've been here, haven't done a freshman day. We've done kind of a rotational day with classes, but never just a day for just freshmen. So it's a big deal to go to high school the first day. So that's a new thing that we are looking for on the calendar as well.
There's also a component for new students as
I was
well.
wondering.
Oh, yes, and new students, sorry, thank you, new students and freshmen.
So then we have a Friday, first day of school?
Yep.
For grades?
I mean,
Seem
what,
productive?
what do you want?
I think the kids will like it.
Yeah.
It's a good warm-up day.
This year, that first day, you're just checking stuff out.
Well, this year
This year,
was
Friday, hit the
Thursday,
ground
I
running
thought.
on Monday. And you
Was
know,
it
so
Thursday?
Yeah, then you get all the you get all the handbook and the syllabus stuff out of the way, and then you start.
on this freshman first day with links, it does involve a lot of upperclassmen, because the cheer, the dance would be involved, we'd have student leaderships who act as the mentors for the freshmen, so there will be a lot of upperclassmen. Band would probably play, yeah, there'd be a
So
lot of them
everyone's
involved.
gonna be there.
The band's gonna be there.
Everyone's.
A third of them at least, right?
No
Yeah.
kidding.
No, I think it's great, I like it.
That was my thing.
So that's new to the calendar. What else is new? Is that,
No,
Oh,
yeah. You guys know how the Central Heights basketball tournament rotates?
Yeah.
Okay, this coming up is our year to host on Tuesday and Thursday, and those games start at 3 o'clock. And I've talked to the other schools, and what they do is let out school for people who drive at the high school. If you drive, you're out at 2 o'clock. If you're a bus rider, all staff is still on at their normal duty day. We just wanna let the parking lot clear so we can have visitors come in, because we'll have 2 games going on at 2 and then 2 every time, so we'll play 8 games in 2 days. But we just need places to park, and like West Franklin said, they let out early for those people, and teachers have rooms if kids ride buses or whatnot that have to stay, they keep those, and then the other staff helps with.
So are you talking 2 days or
Yeah.
no? Yeah, 2 days.
It's Tuesday, and we only rotate and do this every 3 years, so it's Tuesday, the 9th and the 11th of January, or December.
And the game started 2 or?
3.
Oh, okay, so that's, I was gonna say, we need a
have an
little
hour
overlap
to-
there.
Yeah,
but
3 o'clock, so we want them, the drivers to leave at 2, and then we'll request teams not show up till about 2:15.
Yeah.
And that gives them, once they change and get ready, I mean, not a lot of time, if you get 20 minutes to warm up for game 1.
Yep.
So,
I think that's great. When we went to regionals, where we were Payola,
Payola,
it was insane because they still had classes going.
Yeah.
I mean, there were kids going around everywhere and all
It
these
was-
adults, I mean, it was.
we're still gonna have kids
That was
in the
not
building at
us.
2, but at least our parking lot, and that's another thing.
Yeah.
If you were at Payola, you had to almost Uber into the school. I mean, there was nowhere to park.
Yeah, there was no parking.
And so it just
But also they were in the
gives
middle
us
of
an
lunch.
opportunity
It
to,
was-
we had talked about not having parking earlier, so.
Yeah.
So do we add that dismissal on the district calendar ahead of time?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to tell parents
For the
early,
high
so they know that's
school.
early dismissal on that day for student drivers.
So what kids would still be in school that are, would?
It'll be our youngest classmen, I
It'll
mean,
be kids that don't drive.
that ride the bus.
Just ride bus, everybody.
Oh, so the
What about
bus kids would not leave early.
Bus kids won't be on bus.
But they won't be roaming.
Well-
I just worry about
No,
safety.
we'll have teachers there.
Yeah.
Teachers are still on duty, so we'll have them in classrooms.
I mean, if a
Okay, that's
student
what I'm saying.
drives,
When we got to Payola, they were in the middle of lunch, and I mean, they're a bigger school. Like there was kids. I mean,
No.
if we have practice,
like
we
it.
get out at 2, and I'm a junior or senior and I drive, and I wanna go home, well, that, I mean, you're gonna come back for
I'm back
practice.
anyway.
Yeah. Like the basketball teams, we won't play till the late games. If coach, that'll be a kind of a coach decision. I want you to stay or you can go. Kind of leave that up to how they want it.
hey, just safety issues. That's my only thing is I just want to make sure regional people are coming in our school. You know that our kids aren't just roaming the hallways and.
No, that's why
The
we'll
bus
have
riders
staff.
will be on the north end of the
So-
building, and we can keep them out from the gym areas.
And we'll have enough staff that don't have kids that will be able to police stuff.
Right. Okay.
Sounds good. That's a good idea.
Otherwise, I think everything else is pretty standard. The calendar wasn't off by a lot. We added the preschool screening days on there. There may be one preschool PD day that's not on here yet, that we can amend later, but I've tried to get 3 Lakes to put those on our PD days that already exist, because it's just an extra PD day for preschool. And one less student contact day for preschool, so they've heard my.
Got enough snow days?
What?
Got enough snow days in there?
Yes, there are extra minutes.
Like the date at the top, does that need to be changed? Okay, is there a footnote on the date or the header? Where it says 12/12 instead of 12/16 instead of 26, I don't know if that's significant or not.
The date, and this is stamped.
Oh, because that was for our board meeting last.
I said if it's published or saying
Oh.
we're approved, I just wanna make sure it's updated as all.
Oh, February 15th.
I'll have it any minute.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
Well, there's a calendar.
She'll just
Talking
put,
about
I'll
the
have her
date.
put board approved February 26th, or what is the date, 26th, 26th.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion to approve the district calendar?
Can I make a motion to approve with the addition of early dismissal for the December 9th and 11th at 2 p.m. for student drivers? I think it's nice to
9th and
have
10th?
anything.
Hey, now I will double check those dates.
Okay, we'll double check those dates,
Yeah.
but then, provided that that's the date,
Yeah,
that
I
would be.
believe it's the 9th and the 11th.
So you want to approve it, the 2 days of that term?
Yep.
Yes.
Whichever of those
To
dates
be
are.
added.
Now,
Make sure those go on the district calendar early, as soon as you know, confirm those dates. Okay, on you.
and
Set
it's
it
not
here.
gonna, it's not gonna be a snow day that day, it won't get rescheduled and nothing
Yeah,
bad is
nothing
gonna
bad. It's
happen
December.
whatsoever.
It's only
It
December.
doesn't snow till February.
A lot of the stuff's already on the district calendar for next year.
Okay,
Okay, so we had a motion
I'll second.
and a second, all in favor? Okay,
Hey, do we need to know the date for homecoming to put it on there too for that day?
It's on there.
Oh, it is?
yeah.
But it would be nice if, at like enrollment and stuff, if there's something that can go out with enrollment. Since that is such a
It
big
is getting out
change.
early.
Yeah.
new.
And it's-
new
yeah.
deal, yeah.
I'd like to start communicating
So-
toward the end of this school year, like, hey, we're starting a new tradition, here's some things we're doing, community wants to get involved.
If it can maybe go.
Now that
That's
that's-
there and too.
Now that that's approved, we shuffle kids through lunch before they dismiss, right?
Yeah,
We're gonna
we're
feed
Okay,
them all.
sorry, I should
Yeah,
have.
no, that's a good question, yeah, we'll feed them all.
Okay.
Then we could do kind of a quicker type style lunch that we.
Yeah, I just wanna make
Yeah.
sure we're feeding them before we send them.
Yeah.
All right, that brings us to the summer school programs,
You should have,
not far away.
you should have a recommendation for the high school. Laura Lee's program she had last year and Carbondale's same fourth grade transition last year. The only other thing I wanna tell you we have kind of in the works is an opportunity for a Kansas State University STEM grant for one of our teachers, or, yeah, one teacher, right? To teach a STEM class for up to 20 kids, 6th through 8th grade.
It's roughly 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Thank you.
Yeah, one session is about, I can't even remember the name, I'm not an Andy, but it's just about like computers and technology and different things, and then the other part is about robotics, and it's from 9 to 12 in the morning. So we have to see 40 school districts get chosen, and we did apply for that, we just are waiting to see if we got
Yeah.
accepted.
We thought that'd be a fun summer enrichment program
Yeah.
for 6th grade graders that would be interested. So we would,
It will
Ask
pay
kids
for
if
the
they wanna come.
teacher's
and it
salary,
pays for the teacher.
and then we get roughly $2,000 in equipment for participating.
So we'll let you know if that comes, but
Going in or going in?
Is it through like the Starbase?
no.
No, it's
We
through,
did
Kansas
that
University.
before, we did something similar before.
No.
Well, yeah, I knew that, they were shut down there, I didn't know if they were still a thing at all. We did something similar, that it was during the school year.
Going into 6th through 8th grade or coming out of 6th through 8th?
Going into current 6th through 8th grade, right?
What would be a summer program, right?
It'd be current 6th
I
through
would
8th
have to
grade.
look, I think it's current,
It'd be
I
current.
would have to look for some clarifying details from them. All we did was just get a little flyer, and then we had to apply.
I would say current.
But by current, you're talking your 8th graders that are going into their freshman year.
25, 26 or current?
Right.
24.
I'm assuming it's current, but
What is current though, after the school year?
Yeah, after you graduate 8th grade, you're now a freshman,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
To me, current is.
It's after the end
I
of the
don't
school year, current would
Okay,
mean
it
you're
doesn't-
in your
I don't
grade.
know, I don't know enough about it. I just
I
know
can
that,
clarify after we get it. Right now, we just have applied.
yeah, we don't even know if we'll get it, so I can bring this more information.
Anything else on the summer school? Look good?
Need a motion?
Yeah, the motion.
All at once, or do you want one?
All at once, fine, summer school programs?
Yeah.
As a
I
whole?
make a motion to move forward with the summer school programs that's presented.
Okay, we have a motion,
I'll second.
and a second, all in favor? Perfect. Jamie, do you wanna do the 3 legs update, or do you what?
You can help if I forget.
We both win.
Okay.
They kicked me out though,
I was there first.
yeah.
So-
I was late, and so when it came to executive session, they kicked me out, because they both had ones.
Yeah, Caroline, is this where they go? What are you doing here?
Well played, Tanner.
That was my first meeting in a long time, but, well, like they are changing their time clock system, so we voted on that. Talked about some negotiated agreement, what do you call it, committee or, and, I don't know.
Have they started negotiations?
No, I think they started, or like, we're talking about who's gonna do it and.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, who's gonna serve on,
Who's
who's gonna
gonna
serve, yeah, that
yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Which board member's gonna serve? Are you doing
Nobody
it?
would do it.
You're doing it?
Yeah.
Oh,
You gotta be
look at
stubborn
you.
and patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will this be your first time on negotiations? Oh, all right, you're gonna learn so much this year, Dana. I'm so proud
I
of
think
you.
he's kinda.
Who else?
I think he kinda likes it.
Somebody else gave flowers, but yeah.
Jennifer Hamlet. Jennifer Hamlet is the other one.
I should have never came back after they kicked me out.
Well, good, I can write that down. I hadn't heard that yet. Okay, I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, I mean, they literally was like, people was just like, what do you? I was like.
You're like, oh, this is
That's when you nominate somebody else.
Isn't that how you got on?
I'll say,
Yeah, that's kind of how I got on that.
I'm gonna warn you that ours are much smoother than theirs.
Oh,
So,
Thank you for doing
What if you're going to the next
Look at it,
committee
he's like, I resign.
when negotiations start? You have to pick somebody new?
Maybe,
Yeah, I don't think so.
we'll see.
Plan to see.
I'm lucky, ours are great. I enjoy ours, I think it's great.
They didn't sound like they.
I hadn't heard they had a hard time.
They didn't sound like they were.
How many
That's
times-
something, I feel like that's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's hard.
They talked like they meet back
That was
for like almost that.
Well, you
Yeah,
can go
it
and
was
set the tone and make it.
4 times they went back.
One to 10, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
And then we talked a little bit about, they went over some of the specialized programs we're looking at,
Great,
and I feel like they're kind of waiting.
yep, from us,
So
hear from us.
they talked about this facility as a
Yes.
possibility.
Yep, and so Caroline and I spoke quite a bit about even by next year,
Yes.
if we can move a small amount of students for an autism program over here and use some spaces in this far wing over here. So she's come over and just look at spaces. I've talked to the preschool staff about it. I talked to our district office staff. And Caitlin up front, everybody, just kind of so everybody's had kind of a thought or feel on, could 2 programs like that operate here? There are some facility needs though. And I don't know how many kids this would be. I think right now they're thinking there's an estimate of 10 co-op wide that would qualify, but they believe only about, but they said about 6, but 10 that would qualify, 6 that they feel parents and referral processes would actually probably go through, meaning a parent signing up to have their kid being bused over to a different district to get those services. So if it's 6, and 6 probably maximum, there's quite a bit of space over there, actually a lot. So they could run the program over there, and then they would have specialized people in those programs working with those kids in a better capacity than we do in our buildings without all the resources, the space, the expertise, and the right personnel for the staff, or for the students. So I will bring a recommendation to you when I know a little bit more, but I want you to be thinking about the possibility of starting this next year. Yeah, next year.
They're gonna pay for the capital improvements.
Yep, and it is,
They're gonna share utilities or something.
yeah, so we have to come up with an agreement on what they'll pay for this building and using this building.
So then
Yeah, what was there any rent involved or how's that?
We haven't went over all that yet, no. The only thing we've done is we're getting bids on the possibility of putting in a door to divide kind of the programs a little bit. I don't know if it's necessary, but
I think she talked like that was a must have.
I feel like we kind of need to, because it should be an option, not that it needs to be closed all the time, but.
It should be there.
So then we just pay for
Because
36% of everything.
in case somebody was to go.
Yeah, it's a very specialized program, so I feel like.
They would
It
have them
is.
contained, we have the doors, we have the doors down here,
Yeah.
and if they have the doors there, they would have them contained to that area.
Yes, and,
All
and
the
there's,
facility.
there's doors on the rooms that they will be in that can also be secured in a certain manner, so they can't just push and whatever, but.
That in a bathroom, right? Isn't
Yeah,
the
so then the
bathroom
other
thing?
two, bids will be the bathrooms that are, so they're back to back in the library space, the preschool library space now. And that, classroom that's not being utilized in a very far corner of the building. You guys know what I'm talking about, the exit doors there, that room right there. So we're getting a bid on plumbing 2 single bathrooms back to back on those 2 different rooms on that wall. So we probably have to run a line to like Julie's classroom where it's, they have in-class toilets there. Otherwise, we have to run it all the way down 2 bathrooms down here. So bathrooms are definitely a limited piece.
But they have to, like they have to have that in the doors, I feel like, the main
What's
thing. They have to have the bathrooms.
The bathrooms
Yeah.
are a must. I think the doors,
Yeah, they have to have those.
I felt like they made the doors were a big deal.
She thought that was a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
really? I didn't get that impression as much as the bathrooms,
I
but,
thought she talked like that was gonna be like a must-have to have those doors.
okay.
And maybe
And then
they
they would
felt
have-
like we needed that in order to accept, you know. in order
Yeah,
to
and
make
they would have that, would be their drop-off pickup. Go out here, something.
Yeah.
Out front.
Yeah.
Talk like.
But we need our preschoolers to be able to use this bathroom
Yeah.
over here.
Yes.
And then they have a, sensory room over here too that we need to keep, so.
Yes.
And talk like save some pretty substantial money, plus thinking they could do it better themselves than busing somebody clear to pay with
Yeah.
and spend all that time on the road.
Yeah. And that's a hard
It's a great
decision.
idea.
I think we need
Yeah.
it.
I mean, and they talked about, I mean, our numbers are decreasing, Sped, but the needs of our students are increasing. I mean, special
Yeah.
education students are.
So Caroline also said she'd be happy to come to a board meeting and talk a little bit about the program, if you guys all wanna hear it from her too, on what she views this program to look like. She's got a big proposal put together, we've all heard from her. So if you wanna hear from her, you can, otherwise I can bring it to you, however you wanna do it. She said she'd be happy to come in and chat with you about what the program would look like and what she's requesting. But that's up to you, otherwise I can just bring a
I mean,
recommendation.
you guys are gonna have to get to negotiating, because they need the approval from us and that board,
Yeah, both.
like pretty quick to
Yeah.
get all the approvals
they do.
done,
Like
like
2 weeks?
next year.
So like 2 weeks next
I
meeting?
feel like it's, I mean, cause the
Like,
problem is they
yeah,
have to find
that
certain,
would
I
be
mean,
probably better,
teachers
but-
and.
They need, staffing will be the big
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Otherwise. Yeah, then you're April 9th.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, so you're.
Really, in the next.
If she's ready for March, I'll
2
bring her in
weeks,
March.
2 weeks from today.
Do you guys want me to bring her in, or do you want me to just bring you a recommendation?
She's available.
I mean, if she wants to.
It's up to you guys, me and Jamie kinda saw what
Yeah.
was going on, but if you.
But she has like the number of staff she's gonna need, yeah.
Yeah, she's got a whole, which I can bring that whole, I have it, she shares it with all the students, so I can bring it. The, and I don't know if all school districts within the co-op will also have to agree to this as well, because it affects all students in all districts. So I need to talk to Caroline on, does every board need to go and talk about this program is going to say kids now go here, or can the co-op just make that decision without school boards, all 6 school boards, can they do it through their board since you guys have representatives from boards? So I'll talk to her about that process as well. What we'll need from you, what I'll want from you is to utilize this building for that program. So that's what I'll come recommend to you. But the actual J program, I wanna make sure she can just get approval through her board. Do all the other 6 boards have to agree to that, at their own meetings? I don't think so. I think we can collectively do it at just her meeting, the 3 weeks meeting.
I think so.
Because parents have to sign for a J6.
Cause they've done that
Yes,
before.
they-
Not gonna matter
So they would
what
go
it
to
is.
payables?
But to start up a new one, I just wanted to make sure
Send a kid to payables.
that's changing the MOU of the agreement to
So
all
it's on
one
the
time.
same.
Yeah, so I just wanna make sure, did she do that just at her board, so she was reps from all?
They had frameworks in AC, and they moved.
So I'm sure she'll know that.
Yeah, and that's what it's for.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I think that should be sufficient. That's cool.
I feel like it's needed.
So it'll be doors, bathrooms, we'll bring that to you, and it all needs to amongst the law. Oh,
And we're better for our kids. I mean, I feel like that's, and the other kids that.
so we'll get that to you ASAP.
Okay, that's about it.
Is that it? Any questions? All right, we're adjourned.